What Mercedes just announced is insane, so we're going to be going through that in today's video and 3 other stories. So make sure you like this video, and if you want more Mercedes F1 content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that red button down below. But let's get into the announcement, because it's looking like Mick Schumacher is coming to Mercedes. It is still unclear whether Mick Schumacher has a future in Formula 1 and what it might look like. Much also depends on Daniel Ricciardo, who's also been in the rumors of actually accepting that reserve driver role for Mercedes, whose future is now once again the subject of confusion. That said, the evidence appears to say Ricciardo is back at Red Bull and Mick Schumacher may be coming to Mercedes as a reserve driver. And I think this is honestly huge, because on Friday, Automotor and Undersport wrote that Mick was a hot contender for the role of the reserve driver at the Silver Arrows alongside Ricciardo. The 23-year-old would even become the team's first choice should Daniel Ricciardo to turn down the job. Other sources have confirmed that Mick is in the hot seat for Mercedes. Now, if Daniel Ricciardo does not end up coming to Mercedes and ends up going to Red Bull, Schumacher would be a great second pick, because I think with what Schumacher being so young, he still has a lot of development to go. Now, obviously, his career so far hasn't played out the well as his father did. However, I think there is a lot of pressure that does come holding the Schumacher name, and he needs time to develop in F1 to gain more experience and become a better driver. So the second story is George Russell holds off Lewis Hamilton to take maiden win. Sitting to one side with his head in his hands shortly after getting out of his car, George Russell sobbed quietly to himself as he reflected on the magnitude of what he had just achieved. From his earliest days in King Lynn's, Norfolk, to the trips up and down the country as part of the junior karting scene, this is what he had always dreamt for, becoming a Formula 1 Grand Prix winner. So many emotions, Russell admitted later when asked what he had been going through his head. "I've dreamt of this so many times. I was actually pretty impressed by how quickly I started crying after crossing the finish line. By the time I got to turn 2, the tears were flowing. I thought of my mom at home, my girlfriend, my sister, my brother. I knew they were all watching together, and as soon as I got my phone after the race, I was able to FaceTime them. It's been such an emotional roller coaster, from go-karting up and down the country as a boy, all the support my parents gave me. It's not a straightforward life in Formula 1. We're all living our dreams, but your emotions is based substantially on performance." As Russell tried to articulate his feelings, the rest of the sport was reflecting on a humdinger of a Grand Prix. A chaotic, crash-thrown affair which reopened a number of old wounds, gave rise to a couple of new ones, and instantly made next season far more appealing. Suddenly, most importantly, Mercedes are a force to be reckoned with again. Having begun this season miles off the pace of Red Bull and Ferrari, their 1-2 here, Russell just managed to hold off teammate Lewis Hamilton in the end for the following last safety car. Completes a remarkable turnaround. The 44 points Mercedes banked helped the Brackley team cut the gap to second place Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship to just 19 points, with one race of the season remaining in Abu Dhabi next weekend. Whether they overhaul Ferrari or not, it promises to be a proper fight between those two and Red Bull next year. It also promises to be a proper fight between Russell and Hamilton. This win will all guarantee the younger man will finish above the 7-time champion in the driver's standings in their first year together. Hamilton was sincere in his congratulations, and Russell was quick to praise his teammate in the aftermath, laughing with him about an old picture of them together in 2009 and saying once again what an inspiration Hamilton was to him growing up. But if Mercedes do produce a winning car next year, there can only be one winner. They are both alpha drivers, admitted team principal Toto Wolff. It promises to be some battle, as well does the one between Hamilton and double world champion Max Verstappen, after the two old adversaries tangled once again here, and perhaps even Verstappen and Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez, after the Dutchman refused to comply with the team order to give the Mexican his 6th spot at the finish, which would have helped Perez bid to beat Ferrari's Charles Leclerc to second in Drivers' Championship. Perez, who is now tied with Leclerc on 290 points, was clearly unhappy. "He shows who he really is," he said. "Perhaps it was the presence of Bernie Ecclestone back on the grid for the first time in years, but there was a mischief in the Interlagos air." First, McLaren's Daniel Ricciardo collided with Kevin Magnussen's Haas, causing both cars to retire. Then after a safety car period while they cleared that mess up, Hamilton and Verstappen crossed swords. Verstappen was given a 5-second penalty and was forced to fight his way back from the back of the pack, but he was still fuming after the race. "I thought after last year we had maybe forgot about it, but it could finally race," he said, but he had no intention of leaving me space. Hamilton was unimpressed. "You know how it is with Max," he said. There were other collisions. McLaren's Lando Norris took out Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. The Briton, who was celebrating his 23rd birthday, was also handed a 5-second penalty by the steward. stewards, his birthday went from bad to worse as he later retired with a power failure. Russell was serene at the front, even after Norris' retirement brought out another safety car with 16 laps remaining, which allowed Hamilton to close right up behind Russell. I knew how quick Lewis was, so when the safety car came out, I thought this is going to be tricky, Russell recalled. The pressure Lewis just put under me was immense. It was nice to be able to win like that, not just for him, the whole sport will benefit from the renewal of old rivalries in Brazil and the promise of new ones to come. So when it comes to Mercedes, it does look like they are starting to gain a little more traction and are able to finish off the season well, and I think it will make them for a great future next year. Now, Hamilton was happy for Russell and proud for Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton might have missed out on his chance to extend his unbroken run of winning races in every season since his F1 debut in 2007, but he insisted that he was delighted with second place in Sao Paulo. His Mercedes teammate George Russell led almost every lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix, and while Hamilton had a chance to make a late attack following a late safety car, he opted not to and allow Russell his maiden F1 win. Huge congratulations to George, he said after finishing in second place to make it a Mercedes 1-2. What an amazing drive he did today. He did an amazing job yesterday in the sprint, so he truly deserves it. Honestly, I feel really good, he told Sky Sports when Alfie was unhappy to be relegated to second place. Most of all, he was delighted to see Mercedes back in winning ways after a tough season with problems with this year's W13 car. Hamilton said today's result proved that they were back in the running in time for 2023. This is an incredible result, he said. We have worked so hard through this year to get a 1-2 and to get the win. This is hugely deserved for everybody, so a big thank you. This is really a dream for all the team. I think everyone truly deserves this amazing result, he added. To be where we are, to be fighting for front row, to be fighting for podiums, and to get 1-2, honestly, I'm elated for the whole team. We are still the best team, he insisted, and we will get back to having this more next year, and I'm excited for that, to have that battle. Hamilton still has one last chance to get a win with next week's season finale in Abu Dhabi. Season of the controversial end to the 2021 season where he narrowly lost the title to Red Bull's Max Verstappen. Who knows, he replied when asked if Mercedes can repeat its win. We didn't expect to be as quick as we have been this weekend, it's just incredible the turnaround. So the third story is the old animosity with Verstappen resurfaced again on Sunday when the two drivers made contact the opening corners after the first restart following a safety car for Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Ricciardo retiring. Verstappen blamed Hamilton for not leaving enough space, but the race stewards saw it differently and handed the Dutch driver a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. Both cars suffered damage in the clash but were able to continue. All I thought in that moment was that I'd have to retire because I felt something, Hamilton said. The rear wasn't feeling the same after that, and for me it was like I'm going to lose the team a 1-2. That's all I could think of. Driving over the grass and back onto the track, all I could think of was how can I get back to giving the team that incredible result. For me, it's not how you fall, it's how you get back up. We thought we've been out of the picture after the collision with Max, but he still put in a brilliant drive to get back to P2, Mercedes chief race engineer Chauvelin acknowledged. A fantastic recovery for Lewis. As for whether this would stir up more bad blood between himself and Verstappen and between Mercedes and Red Bull, Hamilton was unrepentant. I don't have any concerns, he said. It's natural when you have success, you become a bit of a target, but it's okay, it's nothing that I haven't dealt with before. So the fourth story is Mercedes has now suspended its Formula 1 sponsorship deal with crisis-hit crypto exchange FTX, meaning the company's logo will be removed from the team's cars from the Brazilian Grand Prix. Amid now the confirmed bankruptcy of the FTX exchange and a looming investigation of it by the USA Securities and Exchange Commission over the alleged misuse of customer deposits. Mercedes has taken action to the fast-changing situation. While it had initially appeared that Mercedes would be keeping the FTX logos on its cards and assets for the Interlagos weekend, a team spokesman confirmed to motorsports.com on Friday morning in Brazil that had put a stop to the deal. As a first step, we have suspended our partnership agreement with FTX, so the car may have looked different in the Grand Prix weekend, and this is why. This means the company will no longer appear on our race car and other branded assets from this weekend. We will continue to monitor closely the situation as it evolves. The drama surrounding FTX surfaced several days ago when the exchange was plunged into a liquidity crisis that erupted as its affiliated Alameda research company. It is believed that FTX was left facing an $8 billion black hole in its finances. Initial plan for it to be rescued by rival exchanges Binance, which is a sponsor of the Alpine team, collapsed earlier this week, triggering a meltdown in the crypto markets. On Friday, just a few hours after Mercedes announced its plan, FTX announced that it would be filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings. As well as the original multi-year deal that it signed with Mercedes towards the end of 2021, FTX agrees a $135 million deal with the Miami Heat for NBA and also a $240 million deal with Major League Baseball. all. At this year's Miami Grand Prix, FTX pulled off a major activation called the Off-Grid on South Beach, which included live music and Mercedes show car demonstrations. But now it seems that is all out the window, with Mercedes, especially Toto Wolff, having this to say. "You can't shut yourself down to modern technology," he said. "It's definitely an area that we will grow. When we are looking back in 10 years time, having to make payments that take 2 days and can't be done outside of week hours, it is something that's going to be a relic of the past, and this is where cryptocurrencies are coming." So it seems that Toto Wolff has some crypto knowledge up his sleeve, and I think that is fantastic for him and also for the rest of the team.